Breezy conditions tonight and into tomorrow. We'll see increasing rain for Thursday, heavy showers Thursday into Friday. From the Cairo 7 Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Claire Anderson.
It is cloudy and 45 degrees in downtown Seattle. I'm Ursula Roytain.
Listen on demand. Go to mynorthwest.com and click podcasts. Cairo Radio 97.3 FM. News and talk. Powered by the Pacific Northwest.
The Big Lead is brought to you by 3010 Weight Loss for Life.
The Dori Monson Show on Cairo Radio. This is The Big Lead.
Coming to you from the Carter Subaru studio. Welcome. Welcome to The Big Show. What is this, a Wednesday afternoon edition of the Dori Monson Show? We're also streaming on Facebook Live this half hour. Glad you're with us. As Ursula just said, so they took a huge step toward tolling every inch of every road in Washington. And I am expecting that it'll be it'll be cordial, but it'll be a challenging interview with the head of the Washington State Transportation Commission, because I've said this will be the professional fight of my life, rallying the people of this state to not allow them to make every road a toll road. And I have lots of data for my interview with Rima Griffith that will commence at 12:30 this afternoon. So hang out for that, because I'm really watching. I mean, I was getting the saddest emails and text messages yesterday from a guy who has to drive 160 miles every weekend to pick up his son for his weekend visitation. And he said, I'm not going to be able to afford this road tax that they're adding on. And the gas tax isn't going away. They still have a federal gas tax you got to pay, all of that. And then I had a guy who said, I work in Ballard. I can't afford Seattle real estate. So we live in Snohomish. Many days my commute is 2 hours, and now they're going to add a massive road usage tax to his commute. And the people who they are targeting, once again, working class people, more rural people, where you have to drive farther to get to your jobs. And so it is an insidious plan. It is coming down the turnpike, and we must stop it. So I'll talk with them at 12:30 this afternoon about that. But after watching a cavalcade of stories coming in the last few days, something hit me very powerfully about 2 o'clock this morning. Let's get to the big lead.
The Big Lead, Dori Monson Show exclusive.
We have just seen the absolute moral and intellectual and effectual bankruptcy of our government leaders around here for a long, long time. You know, the most recent was this group that's supposed to take care of heroin addicts, that's supposed to help the alcoholics get treatment, to help the mentally ill start to get the treatment they need, to try to help our veterans with PTSD, to find ways to cope and transition into the working world and to come out of the mud and the rain and the cold that's all around this region. And how did they decide to do that? Well, all homes, Seattle and King County. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I've talked about it so much the last couple of days, but it just illustrates a larger point that I want to get to here. All home, they had a transgender stripper come to their annual meeting, swinging big, gigantic breasts in the face of the attendees. They're putting bills in their mouth so the stripper can go mouth to mouth to grab a tip away. These are government officials. And you think about how many people could have been helped for whatever it cost for this. They're cheering and hooting and hollering, and those are the people who are going to fix homelessness and drug addiction. Those are the people who are going to solve the desperate solutions or situations in the lives of all of these people out on our streets. But that's not the only one. Last night, a Burien city councilman was arrested for assault. And I was thinking 2 nights ago in Burien, a guy drives through the front of the Ross Dress for Less store. His girlfriend is shoplifting. He was the getaway vehicle. A 2-year-old infant in a stroller lay in critical condition. And how have our streets gotten so horrible? Well, if you have councilmen who are getting arrested for assault, maybe it's understandable that the communities they represent have crime problems as well. And on it goes from there. We talked about the All Home, the drag stripper. What about the story we told you about in Tacoma, where the finance director of the housing authority, again, government meant to help people, but instead she and her husband, according to the state auditor, funneled $7 million the taxpayers provided to try to help people get into housing so that she and her husband could buy a 310-acre ranch in Oklahoma for $2 million, and there was much more.
A longtime employee of the Housing Authority misappropriated almost $7 million of public money for personal gain. It is the largest fraud of its kind on record in Washington.
A few months ago, we had an attorney for the Washington Attorney General's office, for Bob Ferguson's office, who was arrested under suspicion of DUI. When he was taken into the hospital because he refused a breath test, a judge apparently colluded to delay the blood draw being taken because the judge admitted, I know this guy. He works for the Attorney General. I know his wife. She works for the Pierce County prosecutor. And so the judge delayed for hours the blood draw in what, to law enforcement who tipped me off, said was a blatant, obvious attempt by the judge to cut some slack to a guy because he was connected to the government, to get a consideration that you and I could never get. You got our King County executive, Dow Constantine, who uses sheriff's personnel to drive him to go out drinking and womanizing at night, according to sources. You have Dow Constantine telling businesses around Boeing Field that if you cooperate with federal law enforcement, we will destroy you. You will never get a King County contract. It's a mob tactic. You have the King County Sheriff, Mitzi Johanknick, who said that she would rather put the lives of police officers at risk, greater risk of dying, rather than to cooperate with federal law enforcement on illegals. You have Jay Inslee, who famously said, I won't raise taxes if you make me governor, and he bold-faced lied. And of course, has signed off on the greatest tax increases. And so you look at who's running things around here. The Burien councilman arrested for assault. Jay Inslee lying about taxes. Dow Constantine using our money to go out drinking and womanizing. Bob Ferguson. He sued the Trump administration for the 53rd time yesterday. And as I was thinking about this litany of sleaze, I got musical last night.
How much does it cost? I'll buy it. The time is all we've lost. I'll try it. And he can't even run his own life. I'll be damned if you run mine. Sunshine.
I look around and I think that about the people in charge of homelessness, about the King County executive, about the King County Sheriff, about the Attorney General, about the governor. They can't even run their own lives. Jay Inslee has a guy on his staff, one of his chief policy writers. He and his wife live in a waterfront house nearly $1 million in Thurston County, but they gamed the low-income housing system to buy a condo in Bellevue for a fraction of market value. They can't ethically run their lives. And these are the people who are telling us how to live. They're the ones who are going to dig us out of all the problems that we're having around here right now. I don't think so. The litany of problems is too great. The damage is too extensive. The problem is too systemic. And that is your big lead for today. Lots more. I'm going to go after this tolling every road. Do that coming up next on The Dori Monson Show.
This hour of the Dori Monson Show is brought to you by Insulation Northwest.
If someone on your gift list would appreciate spectacular waterfront views and fresh seafood, reel in the taste of the Northwest this hour.